Hello and welcome to this Aparito podcast. Today we're speaking with Madeline Stoodley, Aparito's Patient Group Accelerator Coordinator, about her experiences of having a rare disease and the work she does within the rare disease community for both Gaucher's Association and Aparito. Hello Maddie, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Um, so just like to ask you sort of five kind of questions really, if that's okay. So you were diagnosed with type 3 Gaucher's disease at 1.5. I just wondered sort of how this affects you on a daily basis and kind of how you manage that.
I was diagnosed with type 3 Gaucher's disease in 1997, and I think over the years my symptoms have changed a lot. Things have deteriorated, but also improved. I think when I was initially diagnosed, obviously I had a enlarged spleen because of the build-up of Gaucher cells in my organs, so I had to have a partial splenectomy. And a lot of illnesses that I've had since then have been because I've got a suppressed immune system just slightly. So for instance, like this time of year, flu is rife, and I often suffer from that. um I also think balance is a massive thing for me. When I was at school, especially in primary school, I used to fall over a lot, and I used to have one-to-one support um, to make sure that didn't hurt myself on a daily basis. And actually, as I grew older, that did improve. I haven't fell over as much as an adult, although I do still have ataxia and really do find that quite challenging.
Yeah.
Especially, for instance, walking in a straight line it's not something I can do very well. Um, I think one of the main things that's really impacted on me is the fact that I've got an intention tremor. So obviously, because I have type 3 Gaucher's disease, I have neuronopathic Gaucher's disease, which means that I have a build-up of Gaucher cells in my brain, which means that it affects a lot of my nervous system. So I have an intention tremor, especially dominant in my left hand, which I really struggle with, and I have struggled with as an adult. And it sounds silly, really, but things that I think other people take for granted, like being able to feed themselves. So I can feed myself, but if I was to go around someone's house and, for instance, they served me peas or sweet corn, I might be sat there for quite a while. Um, so trying to physically get the fork from the plate to my mouth is actually really quite challenging. I actually find that quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the symptoms that people notice the most about me.
Yeah.
I also have issue with my saccadic eye movements, so I blink an incredible amount, and I often find it difficult to follow and track moving vehicles. So crossing the road is really tough for me. And I have been known to, well, especially when I was younger, take my life in my own hands and just run. So yeah, there are quite a few things that affect me on a daily basis, but I think over the years it's become part of life. And I'm more conscious about other people noticing it than me noticing it,
Right.
because I've always been quite adamant that my disease wouldn't define me, and I was going to be as normal, if normal is even a word, as possible. So yeah, so that's the answer to that one, I think.
Brilliant, thank you. With the sort of rare disease community, obviously as you've grown up, how do you think it's kind of changed? What's been the biggest difference that you've noticed as you've grown up?
I think just patient engagement and patient involvement, really. I mean, I think in the Gaucher community, it's interesting because, you know, we're very lucky, especially type 1 Gaucher patients, type 3 Gaucher patients, we have a treatment that works. I think before I was diagnosed, that treatment wasn't available. You know, a lot of patients relied on bone marrow transplantation, which was a really risky procedure. So patients are living longer, Gaucher patients are living longer. And, you know, with living longer, there are new challenges, but also I think, you know, the patient engagement is now becoming really prominent, and actually patients taking responsibility for their own, you know, their own health, their own disease, wanting to get involved in, you know, clinical trials, wanting to know more about drug development, you know, wanting to take part in patient advocacy. You know, that's really increased over the past couple of years with the fact that patients are living longer. And I mean, you know, when I was younger, I remember when I was first diagnosed, well, I don't remember, my mum will, you know, it was very much, you know, she's not going to be able to walk, she's probably not going to be able to talk, she won't be able to go to mainstream school, etc., etc. You know, and I think a lot of patients, Gaucher patients, have grown up continuing to hear this kind of speculation about what will happen, etc. And I think for myself and a lot of my peers, I think we've just tried to embrace the time that we're in. And although we can't control our disease, we can't control what happens, I think that, you know, being as involved in the community as possible, and, you know, trying to spread awareness. And also, I think for me, one of the most important things is to show the younger ones that actually that's what they were told, you know, that's not the case. You know, everyone's different, everyone has their own goals, you know, and, you know, everyone moves at their own pace and everything like that. But I think it's really important to have role models that you can look up to and go, well, actually they went to school, they went to university, they've got a family, you know, and that's, you know, that's something that really brings hope to a lot of patients. So, yeah.
Fantastic, that's really good. And then we've got Rare Disease coming up on the 28th of February. I just wondered what that day kind of means to you, and what difference it means having a sort of worldwide Rare Disease Day kind of thing.
Yeah, so Rare Disease Day, I think, is a brilliant, you know, a time for people across the rare disease community to come together. I think a lot of the time, you know, for me personally, I think there's a lot of, sometimes I kind of catch myself in a bubble where I'm in a Gaucher bubble, and I'm like, you know, sometimes I forget that there's other, you know, rare disease communities out there. And actually that's what's been really nice about working with Aparito, is I've actually managed to engage with a lot of other patient communities. But I think that Rare Disease Day also allows that to happen, you know, and it brings communities together, and it also reminds us that we aren't alone. And yes, we are defined as rare disease patients, but actually when you look at the big picture and you take part in things like Rare Disease Day, you realize just how many rare disease patients there are. And also I think that it's an opportunity to engage with different stakeholders, you know, like for instance pharmaceutical companies. It's really important to get them involved, you know, so they can actually see what it's not what it's like to be a rare disease patient, because I don't think you can really understand unless you have a condition. But I think that, you know, it engages them more with the community on a personal level, and, you know, it's sort of, it kind of just for a moment, I think puts aside, drug development, which of course is really important, and focuses more on the community as a whole. And I think that anything that brings people together and drives change and spreads awareness is something that's really good and really worthwhile.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And as the Gaucher Association ambassador and UK board member, I just wondered if you could tell us, kind of what that role involves and what message you're conveying with your work.
Yeah, so I joined the UK Board of Trustees in 2014, and it was really the first time that I, felt really passionate about getting involved with the Gaucher Association, because I realised that there were a number of people on the board, but not one of them had type 3. Majority of them had type 1, and actually there is a massive difference about the patient experience. So I really went and sat on the board to, make sure that the type 3 patient voice was heard, which I think is really important. And that entailed basically, sitting in board meetings, giving feedback about what was important to patients, were we focusing, on the right projects. So yeah, that was really good, and I really enjoyed my time with the board. So now I work with the association as an employee, so I sit on the board as an employee rather than a patient, which is a bit of a different vibe. But I work on their projects mainly. That's my role, and so I'm working on a number of projects at the minute. So I'm currently developing a booklet for our type 2 community. I'm also working to create a video to go on our website that basically explains what we do and the support that we offer, because I think that sometimes seeing something visually rather than reading loads of text is actually a lot more user friendly. Working on different events which obviously have been postponed because of COVID, but working around that and looking more into using technology to reach out to patients. So yeah, I mean, I love the work that I do there, and my mum has been involved in the association since I was 8, I think, and she's now the International Gaucher Alliance CEO. So I have big steps to follow in, but I always, she is a massive role model to me, and yes, I will, it's nice to have someone that I can pick the phone up to, and it's to pick the phone up to and just talk about work. But also I think that when you do something like this, it's more of a vocational thing, like it's life but it's also work, and I think that has been really helpful for me as well.
Yeah.
So
good combination. Thank you. And then finally, at Aparito, you're the patient group accelerator coordinator. I could just wonder if you could tell us a bit about the sort of exciting program you've got and the progress that's been made so far.
Yeah, so I joined back in August, and basically, was really excited and still am really excited, I'm glad to say, about this project. So this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. I'm really passionate about, what we're doing. So basically the project is to work with patient organisations to basically come up with endpoints that are important to patients, because I think too often you know, you have clinical trials, and I can speak from a personal experience where, you know, there is a drug and they come up with endpoints and measurements and, you know, focus on particular data that actually isn't important to the patients. And I think that researchers forget that patients take a lot of time out to take part in these clinical trials. It isn't something that, you know, you should just take lightly, you know, and I think that, you know, these drugs should be there to fix or improve something that is important to the patient and it is going to make a difference to them on a daily basis, you know, and to their families, because that, I think that is what we should strive for in, you know, medicine's development is, you know, I hate to use the word customer, but, you know, the customer is the patient, and therefore the patient should be at the forefront and should be involved in, you know, clinical trial design, and also things like coming up with endpoints. And I, you know, this project is allowing us to engage with patient organisations to come up with these endpoints and use the technology and the capabilities that we have at Aparito to measure that data, and then basically use that to then demonstrate that actually this can be done and we can focus on what, you know, the patients really want. And we're at a really good point in it now, actually, with the project. So one of the apps for Duchenne UK is about to go live in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited to enrol patients on that. So that's really going well. And then PCD, who we're also working with, are also in a really good position, and we're hopefully going to start working on their app in the next coming weeks. And then I think, you know, this is a project that's hopefully going to be rolled out time and time again, you know, because I think that it's extremely worthwhile. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. That's great. Thanks very much for, you know, sharing your experiences with us. It's been really interesting insight, you know, into your life, and also, you know, all the work that you do, you know, for Aparito and for Gaucher's Association. So thanks very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Cheers. So to find out more about Aparito, please head to our website www.aparito.com, and thank you for listening.